Hello, everyone. How are you? Good, thank you. Let me just make sure my chat's working and we'll get on with it. Is monitoring on? Is monitoring on? There we go. Okay. Just want to be able to hear myself. Let's see here. How is everyone's day going? Just need to check if chat is working. Just want to make sure my chat's working. Grembledorf will come at midnight. Perfect. Alright. Let's get this stick. We are at like 160 KC, so we're not getting too close to the drop rate. But it's nice to be hopeful. I have been getting more confident with this fight. After a couple hundred kills, it starts to get a little bit more routine. You're not as overwhelmed by things. I also turned off True Tile because I think it looks ugly. I don't like playing with it on. Left the tile markers though, just for convenience. Because when you're clicking over to your prayer book, last thing you want is to not know the safe tiles to move to. And just like that, I take damage because I was slow on the prayer switch. But that's okay. Okay, we got pillars first. That means ghosts are second. Okay. Got the 3 I'm going to stand behind. And I've noticed this weird visual glitch where, like, the Whisperer has, like, their middle section cut out when looking at them from this angle. But that's alright. Some things just don't work perfectly in this game. Could be the plugins I'm using. Something might be getting in the way. It could just be a visual bug. It doesn't bother me too much. Simple as pie. Although pie can be complicated. Yeah, you just get into a rhythm of it. Okay. I said eat the anglerfish. I said eat the anglerfish. Okay, I'm teleporting out. Should have eaten that at the beginning of the kill. Because that really messed me up. I don't know, can you not... Is it a stall? Can you not eat when you're going into the shadows? The shadow realm? That's upsetting. First kill of the trip. First kill is bound to be rough. That. And back to it. Don't know why I'm doing that, because I'm just going to eat another anglerfish at the start of the kill. Alright. This time I'm not getting screwed up by having a full inventory, because the Venator bow requires both hands. Got the spec, and we're ready. Unfortunately, my hamster passed away today. I knew it was coming. He was an old man. Went peacefully in the night. It wasn't pneumonia or anything like that. I know small animals get that a lot. He actually had multiple tumors, just eating away at him. And you know, when small rodents especially get older, they tend to just sort of wither away. They're short-lived animals. I could put up a picture of Mr. Munch. I think I'll do that after this kill. I have a good picture of him in a coffee mug. And he's a sweet little guy, kind of an escape artist. He actually escaped a couple of times, and most of the times he did, we found him in someone's bathtub. He would crawl around and sort of explore the whole house until eventually he got trapped in like some smooth-walled surface that he couldn't climb back out of. Why did I double-click? This mouse is getting old. That's happened to me multiple times where, I'm like super confident that I clicked once, but apparently my prayer just turns off completely. What pattern do we have? Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Come on, catch the freeze, thank you. And let's get into that enrage phase. Any second now, okay. Stop hitting ones! Why? Why? That was so upsetting. Of course, it's when I start streaming that I start planking. The constantly hitting like zeros and ones when I just needed like 20 damage there. It's stupid. Even with a couple deaths, the kills are still profitable. I mean, it's like 200k every time I die to reclaim everything. But Awakener's Orbs are pretty common here, and that covers a few deaths, as well as like the Rune Ore and stuff like that. And I'm going for the staff anyway. Must have just been a little distracted in that final phase, missing prayers and stuff. That's when things really start to stack up. Because you run out of prayers super quick there. So if you miss like You have like a couple ticks to drink or eat potions. It's not always the easiest to muscle through that phase. Forgive me, I am eating chips and guacamole for dinner. Of course, the pet would also be fun to get. Don't know. It's one of the easier pets in game to actually get as far as drop rates go. It's only about 1 in 2,000, I think. So nothing ridiculous. And I've gotten lucky on pretty much every pet I've gotten. Only one I've gone dry on is... I didn't even go dry on Soul Wars. I got that at like 300 crates. Only one I went dry on was like the Chaos Elemental, and it was like 12 kills over. But Chaos Elemental's super easy to get. It's I wouldn't even know if I went dry on it, honestly. I don't think that counts as going dry on a pet. Same thing with the Chompy. Chompy's so easy to get. It's like... It's so fast that I wouldn't even notice if I were over drop rate. That's how easy it is. Hit the spec. Range. Oh yeah, I was supposed to put up a... Yeah, the picture's on my phone, so I'd have to upload it. And I don't want to mess with that at the moment. Oop. Didn't mean to do that. Used too much prayer there. I should have turned off my protection. Come on, catch it. Got the pillars next. It's nice if the final phase is the ghost phase, because then you do a whole bunch of damage and you're straight into the enrage phase. Oh, what? We can still probably make this. Just slow on that last pillar. Okay. Ghost phase. Give me my sanity back, you chuckle nuts. As long as I'm not hit by any tentacles in the enrage phase, I should be good. $75 is probably enough. There we go. Or an average drop. Just gonna move that around in my inventory so I don't get... So it's not in the way when I have to switch into the Venator. I don't know if there's a use for the Venator bow after this. I mean, unless I want to go for the pet, which I will eventually. But right now, I'm just looking for the axe piece. Maybe the ring, because the ring would go nicely with the axe. They kind of work together pretty well. Pillars first, okay. Let's not mess this one up. Got it. Got it. Got it. Now the question is she going to throw out a freeze? Yes. And freeze you right back. Ghost phase. I just watch for the XP drop, and that's when you throw the next arrow out. It was a little bit slow there, but it still worked out fine. That one's not going to catch. That one is. Nice. I like that you have a little bit of wiggle room. Take a sip here. Turn off prayers, save a little bit of prayer points. Got the pattern. And freeze you right back. I do have Mr. Munch's cage. It's like a... It's sort of a glass aquarium with sort of a frame on top of it. And I don't know if I'm gonna give it away or find another use for it. I might make like a terrarium in there for just like plants and bugs and stuff. I like the idea of just have something that you can just take care of sitting in there. So even if it were just like a little like self-cleaning, I mean like a bioactive cage, I think that would be a good experience, especially if I want to like, not now obviously because I don't have the room for it, but I'd really like to get into like keeping, I kept fish as a kid, but when you're a kid you don't know what you're doing and you you kind of mess up with your responsibility to a fish tank, and you're just like, oh, they have food and water so they should be fine, but it's a lot more complicated than that, especially if you're doing a saltwater tank. Saltwater tanks are incredible. Some of them can be very beautiful, especially if you're like you're keeping like anemones and then exotic fish, but I'm more into like domestic, or what is it? Endemic species. So if I were to have a fish tank, I would probably have like I would probably make it freshwater. I'd have some of the fish, but I definitely want to keep like crawfish, because I think crawfish and crustaceans are really cool, and they're natural where I'm at. They're natural all over the U.S., but different species and in different amounts. There I go, talking about crayfish so much I get hit. But as a kid, we had an interesting dilemma where we had rabbits, and our rabbits were not spayed or neutered, so they also had rabbits. And so we had, I was in the Cub Scouts, and we had a whole bunch of people over for a Cub Scout meeting, and all the kids really loved the new baby bunnies. They were very interested in them, and we said, well, we can't take care of like 10 bunnies, so we'll give them away as pets to, you know, the neighbor kids and people who wanted to take care of a rabbit. But this kind of had a negative side effect where they sort of had this idea, well, you gave us a pet, we should give you a pet in return. And so we ended up with like lizards, a tarantula, a bunch of fish. Ooh, that was close. We basically ended up with a whole bunch of unwanted pets, which is kind of sad that like these families were just sort of waiting for an opportunity to dump their pets, their unwanted pets, onto someone. But it did give me a lot of experience with taking care of a whole bunch of different kinds of animals, especially the tarantula. Tarantula was really cool. I was always afraid of it because it had big scary claws, or big scary fangs. It had claws too, but they were small. But it would crawl all over your hand and spin webs. And it molted one time. And I think I was in like 2nd grade. Because Cub Scouts is really young. It's young kids. But we had the tarantula. And it molted its exoskeleton. And I brought that in to like show and tell. And be like, hey, check it out. I have a big spider at my house. Who wants to come over to my house and see a big scary spider? That really makes you a lot of friends in the 2nd grade. But we did get a lot of experience taking care of a lot of different animals, and it sort of made me very interested in keeping some of these cooler creatures. Tarantulas are actually very easy to take care of. They're very sedentary animals. They really don't need a lot of space. If you give a tarantula like a huge enclosure, it can actually like stress them out. Because particularly the one that I had, it was a violet tarantula. So you know how like some arachnids, like scorpions, they kind of have a ultraviolet glow. It was sort of like that, but it was just purplish under normal light. And I thought that was really cool, as like a purple spider. But they really don't need a lot of space, and they'll just hang out in their little enclosure. They'll build themselves a little web and sort of just maintain that. And they really don't move much unless you take them out to handle them or it's feeding time. And I never really saw the tarantula, like, it never pounced on anything. It was a very docile creature. We would put, like, 1 or 2 crickets in there, and it would sort of not really react. It would kind of just sat there. But we'd go in the next day, and the crickets would be gone, so it's like, okay, well, we know it's eating. It just is maybe a little bit shy, because tarantulas, they're not really hunters, they're trappers. They wait for things to come to them. I remember the biggest mistake, and this still fucks me up. Ah, jeez. Talking again so much, I'm messing up the fight. But the worst thing I ever messed up was, we went on vacation, and since we're going on vacation, I'm like, well, I should give the frogs, because we got frogs as well, I should give the frogs some extra food. And apparently it wasn't enough, or maybe it was too much. But when we came back, my parents discovered that the frogs had died. We should have probably had someone there at the house, just like pet sitting for us, but we didn't really know how to take care of the pets anyway. So what my parents did was a kind of... I don't know if I would do it, but to sort of avoid that problem of like, hey, this thing was your responsibility and it died because you weren't there, they just got new frogs, and then when we got home, they were like, hey, look, the frogs changed colors. And I was like, yeah, I'm not buying it. Those frogs are dead. You've replaced them. You've got a body double. But, no, I think the hardest thing to take care of, definitely was the fish tanks? We had a freshwater fish tank. And, you know, every month, it's like, alright, time to change the water out, time to clean the filters. There's just so much maintenance that went on with it that it got kind of, I mean, you get into a routine with it. You're like, it's the second weekend of the month, time to take care of the fish tank. We also had a bunch of lizards. All the same kind of lizard, right? But we lived near, like, a big park. And in the summer, there would just be hundreds of lizards all over the place. And our cats would find them and grab them and just sort of take them to us. You know how cats, like, show off their prey to you, and they're like, you're a stupid hunter, silly humans. Here, have some food because you suck at finding it yourself, apparently. That's what cats think, I guess. But every time the cat would catch a lizard, we were like, well, we can't just kill it. We can't let the cat eat it. So let's put it in the lizard cage. And we had like a huge enclosure in the garage that was just lizards. And every summer the cats would find like 1 or 2 more lizards, and we ended up having like 7 of them at the end of it. Okay. Not gonna mess up this time. Oh, didn't even need to freeze. We never had a snake though. That was the one thing my mom was adamant about. She did not want a snake in the house, which I've come around on. I think snakes are cool now. I think ball pythons are very cute creatures. They're very timid and they got cute little noses. There's some snakes that I would not keep like a highly venomous snake. There's some people who are like, yeah, it's cool. I got this super rare snake that's like very iridescent. It's like very bright colors and a huge head, and I'm like, bright colors and a big head means very deadly venom. You probably shouldn't keep that thing where it can bite you. And even the most, I mean, you would have to have like anti-venom just stocked in your fridge if you're gonna keep some exotic snake that could like make you bleed out of your eyes. That's not something I want to put myself near. I do think it's cool. I think it's very cool, and I do think there's importance to like having these animals as like education tools, but not so that they're handled by professionals, by people who know what they're doing and know how to handle snakes and take proper precautions. I'm not that person. I know for something like a poison dart frog, that was something that always confused me, is how zoos and aquariums and places that are like educational centers, like edutainment centers for animals, I wasn't sure how they got poison dart frogs in there, because I'm like, you touch that thing and it kills you, right? Apparently that's only if it's it gets its toxins from the food it eats. Oh, I'm dead here. This is why I gotta stop going on tangents, because I can't talk and play the game at the same time. But like, how did they get these very poisonous, very deadly poison dart frogs into captivity? And apparently it's their diet. It's I think ants that they eat. Ants have certain like venoms that they have in very small amounts. But for a frog that's diet is like nothing but ants, that toxin sort of builds up and can become very deadly because of just how concentrated it is. So just don't feed the frog things that are poisonous and you're fine. But this is a skill. This is a skill I'm going to have to work on. Talking and playing the game and knowing when to shut up and focus. Because that's like the second... I got hit by like 3 tentacles and I was missing prayers. Was not good. Also because I have this microphone and this big stand in my face. I have like a... It's not like a boom mic, but it's like it's up in the air, and it blocks a considerable portion of my screen when I have it this close. So maybe I should consider getting a microphone that doesn't take up so much room. Or the microphone's fine. I like it. It's a Blue Yeti, which I think are very nice microphones. Sort of an all-around jack of all trades kind of thing, where you're not getting the best quality you possibly could. But I've had it for years, and it's never given me any problems. The only problem I had with it was you would get a sort of a feedback sounding hum because it has an audio cable and then a power cable. And if the power cable were plugged into, say, an outlet, you would get too much power or feedback or something like that. But if you plugged it into like a lower, I don't know if it's like ampage or voltage or what it is. I'm not very good with electricity. I just use the stuff. But for some reason, plugging it into the computer with a lower power, I think, got rid of the hum or the buzz, which was nice. So also it's nice because I always use a surge protector, and if my microphone were plugged into wall power, and the electricity goes out here from time to time, and if a power surge happened, I would be out of a microphone, and that would not be convenient. I'm also kind of, I thought about for a bit getting a leopard gecko, like a while back. But leopard geckos, the thing I'm scared about with lizards is I have a pet dog. And I know that with lizards, even just handling them wrong, handling the lizard in a wrong way, can make them drop their tails. And I would feel so guilty if, like, the environment I set up or the way I handled the animal, I would feel so guilty if I accidentally got a lizard to drop their tail. Because that doesn't seem fun for the animal. That seems like a really stressful and uncomfortable experience for the lizard. So I wouldn't want to be responsible for that. If I were to keep a leopard gecko or any other kind of animal that could drop its tail due to stress, I would want to have a secure enough setup and probably like a separate room that the dog wouldn't go into, so that just taking every precaution to make sure that the animal is comfortable and that they're safe, because that's sort of the biggest concern. I've had too many experiences where it's like you go on Reddit, and this is something that upsets me a lot, is you go on Reddit to like a nice community, like, oh, r/hamsters, that'll be fun. It's just gonna be pictures and discussions about hamsters and how to best take care of them. And then every like 3 or 4 posts you see, it's like, what is wrong with my hamster? It's doing something. It's like the animal's clearly terribly injured, and they're just posting like, hey, should I take this animal to the vet? It's like, yes, no shit. if something is like visibly wrong with your animal, it's probably time to take it to the vet. Especially since a lot of animals that are kept as pets, especially small pets, are prey animals. Like, for example, birds. Birds are really, really good at hiding when they're sick, right? Because they're not just prey animals, they're also flocking animals. And the easiest way to get killed when you're in a flock of animals is to look sick. So birds are very good at concealing when they're sick. And so if it gets to the point where like they're no longer just like showing mild symptoms, but they're like visibly sick, it's like is real bad, and you need to go to the vet like immediately. Which is also another concern for me for getting into like keeping other exotic animals, is I wouldn't know. I don't have the experience, and I wouldn't know enough to like tell when like something's wrong, because that's sort of the responsibility of the keeper, is to be able to like tell and keep tabs on how healthy something is, like the warning signs of sickness or bad environment, even stuff like what kind of bedding you use for the animal, because there's like certain types of bedding that certain types of animals like. I know a big one because I've followed like a bearded dragon subreddit for a while. A big one is sand for lizards, where it's like the assumption is, well, they're lizards and they live in the desert, so sand should be fine for them. But sand is like undigestible, and they can get like intestinal blockages from eating food that's like rolled around in sand. And animals are generally messy eaters, so they're gonna get sand in their food if it's there. Um, I mean, there's other stuff like what was it? The bearded dragons. Someone was like, "What's going on with my bearded dragon? Its throat pouch turned a different color. I've never seen this color of throat, because they have they have the beard. They're bearded dragons. They got the beard, and the picture showed a bearded dragon with like a completely black beard." And everyone in the comments is like, your lizard is very sick and you need to go to the vet immediately. Like, if I hadn't seen that online, if I hadn't learned about that, and I just had a bearded dragon, I wouldn't know either. I would just be like, oh, it must have changed color. I wouldn't know what that meant. I wouldn't know the warning signs. And it seems like for every animal, there's like a different set of like symptoms or signs. Not symptoms. There's a different set of signs you have to look out for to make sure they're in good health. So I would have to do a lot of research before taking care of something I'm unfamiliar with. Which is why I think a fish tank would be a nice sort of. It's a lot of maintenance, and I don't know if I could have it in my current location where I'm at. Partly because it's just gallons of water that you need to like recycle. You can't use like hard water or anything like that. You need to clean it out constantly, but it's also like a big draw on electricity, and we have sort of a shared electric bill where I'm at. And also, excuse me. And also, if I don't have much room for it, so no matter where I put the fish tank, you would hear it. It would be in the background constantly, just the filter going. And while I appreciate like classic YouTube, a very common like classic YouTube aesthetic is just having a loud ass fish tank in the back of your videos. That was a very, that's like, if you're hearing that, you know it was uploaded in like 2003. But no, I wouldn't want to have to deal with that. I already have to cancel out enough noise with living next to a street and sort of like a shopping center. Trucks coming in and out all times of the day. There we go. We can catch this. Freeze. Yes, we can. I'm gonna focus in for this enrage phase a little bit. Take a sip of super restore. Really not doing enough damage here. Again, I turned off the. I don't know if I'm double clicking. Like, come on. That should be easy. Shouldn't be the issue I'm facing. I don't know if there were any other neat animal stories that I have. I did go to Alaska for a trip because I had an aunt and an uncle who live out there. It's a very cool. It's beautiful in the summertime. We stayed in Anchorage for a bit where a friend of the family had converted a old church into a coffee shop. It was like a smaller, not like a cathedral, but no, it was like a little community church with a nice like living quarter attached to it. And so they turned the front part of the church, or like the congregation would meet, they turned that into a coffee shop. So it looked really nice. It had these big, tall, those iconic tall vertical windows. And they just sort of built out a coffee shop in there, which is a very, very cool, very cool vibe to that place. But we went to a place called Little Mulchapno Lodge, I think, because my dad was a fan of John Denver, and he had been up there before. And while we were out there, we went on a hike to go take apart a beaver dam, because the lake, you know, salmon return to the lake where they were hatched to mate and then die. And the problem that the people were facing was that they wanted the salmon to be able to get back so they could make more salmon for next year. but the beavers would put up dams, and the salmon couldn't get past them and couldn't get back to their breeding spot. And so we went on a hike to take down this beaver dam. And they were like, yeah, we took it down like 3 or 4 times this summer. But the beavers are persistent little buggers, and they just put it back up every time we take it down. What we did was we took apart this beaver dam to the point where like there was running water through it. Super restore here. And that was not the most fun, because as I was pulling on one of the sticks, I fell backwards into the water and filled my pants and my shoes and everything with like very cold water. Even though it is summertime, the water is still very cold there because all of the ice melt. And so I sat on like the bank of the river for a little bit, and as we're hiking back to the lodge, it's on a lake. As we're hiking back, I went up ahead, and I found a little shrew. It's like a tiny little rodent. And I'm like, oh, this is cute, and I picked it up. And I'm like, hey, check it out. I found a shrew, and I was holding it and showing it to everyone, and it bit my finger, and I like dropped it, and everyone laughed, and it's like, you can say you were attacked by Alaskan wilderness. And I'm like, it wasn't really attacked. The animal was more trying to defend itself from a giant creature that just picked it up. Probably thought I was trying to eat it or something. Let's go for another kill here. Hit the speck. Something that was told to me, a bit of advice. There's a lot of bears in Alaska, and there's also something that I didn't expect to see in Alaska, was a big, like, huge fields of wild blueberries. Just blueberries for very large patches. And I didn't realize that blueberries could grow in such a northern area. But it was a massive amount of blueberries. And the people who were like sort of guiding us through this, we were picking blueberries to make like some desserts and things. And they were like, yeah, the thing that humans and bears have in common is we both really like blueberries, and we're very easily distracted by them. So a good piece of advice is to every minute or so just look up from the ground and do sort of a sweep across your horizon, so you don't accidentally, you and a bear are both sort of head down in the bushes just grabbing blueberries. You don't want to bump heads into each other while you're both getting blueberries, because then you're both going to be surprised, and then you're going to be panicked, and that's when bad things happen with especially big animals, is when you either mess with their babies or you surprise them. And that's when bad things happen. There's also a good rule of thumb is, while you're hiking, if you know there are like bears or wolves or something around, if you're just hiking and it's quiet out, you might want to just like yell every couple of yards, or however you want to yell every minute or so, or some regular amount of time, not to like scare things off, because they're not scared of you. A black bear, a grizzly bear, they're not scared of people. They just don't want to be near them, right? Same thing with wolves. A pack of wolves is not scared of a group of hikers. But it's more of like, hey, we're out here. We're not trying to sneak up on you. We're not trying to hurt you. We're moving along just like you. So, we're out here. Don't try and don't be surprised if you see us. It's sort of just letting everything know out there that you're either coming their direction or moving away. Because you never want to. You will be surprised and panicked, and the animal will be surprised and panicked if you just quietly, accidentally stumble onto them. Which, I guess this brings me back to the thing with snakes, is the biggest threat with a snake is not like the venom, or like the terrifying bite. It's more that you could just not see them, right? That's the danger with snakes, is you have to be like very vigilant about where you're stepping. Because the last thing you want to do, I'll use rattlesnakes as an example. Rattlesnakes, they got their rattle. When something comes near them, they let everything know. Like, it's not like a threat like, I'm going to bite you. It's a warning, like, hey, stay back, because I can bite you. I remember on a camping trip, again, this was like with Cub Scouts. We were walking around, we were just going on a hike, and some kid, he goes off the trail a little bit, and the scout leader's like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you going that way? And he goes, I hear a sprinkler out here. And it's just a rattlesnake warning everyone, using its rattle. Because snakes don't want to get stepped on, and they don't see, even though some snakes can kill you, generally they don't see like big creatures as food, so they're not hunting you. They're just saying like, hey, keep your distance. And that's the problem with rattlesnakes, or snakes in general, is they're very easy to miss. They're very well camouflaged. Generally, they're either down low on the ground, or sometimes in trees. Sometimes they're in burrows, but a lot of the time they're in a place where you could conceivably just step on them. And if that happens, you are surprised, the snake is surprised, the snake is hurt, and the snake is going to bite back in self-defense. Which is why I wouldn't keep a pet snake that has very deadly venom. It's because they're not surprised by you anymore. At that point, they're just pissed at you. They're like, why is this big creature invading my space? It seems like they're less surprised and startled, and more just like, fuck off, get out of here, I'm gonna bite you. But lots of snakes, especially the ones that are commonly kept as pets, like ball pythons, corn snakes, hognose snakes. What else have you got? I guess a hognose isn't that common, but they're very cute. But a lot of the snakes that have either no venom or very mild venom, they can actually make pretty good pets. Because even if they're upset one day and they bite you, it's not the end of the world. My roommate has has a ball python. And I've... What happened there? Again, did I, like, double-click it? But I've held their ball python. And ball pythons are very cute. They sort of just curl up in your arms, and sometimes they'll just, like, stick out their tongue and smell around. Very curious creatures. You can tell they're decently smart. I mean, you would go up to their cage and they wouldn't just like vacantly stare out into space. They'll like recognize that someone's there and look at them. I mean, I don't know how intelligent a snake is. I don't know what their problem-solving skills are. But it's not like dead behind the eyes. It's not like a brainless, vicious predator. It's capable of being calm and pleasant, and generally a nice little companion to have around. My only problem with it is I don't particularly love the idea that they eat like rodents. I know it's like, yeah, that's what they eat. There's no changing that. But I don't know if I could handle having like frozen rats in my freezer for a pet snake. That seems a little bit grim for my liking. Which is why I like a bearded dragon or something. I know it's like hypocritical to like draw that line of like, oh, well, I'm not feeding it mice, I'm just feeding it insects, because insects are lesser than mice. It's like, intuitively it feels like it's worse, or it feels like it's not as bad to feed an animal insects as it is to feed them like small mammals. But still, I'd feel a little bit better having like a colony of like isopods or cockroaches to feed a insectivore, rather than having having mice and stuff in my freezer. I think that's part of the reason I mean, even with my hamster, I fed him, like, dried mealworms. That was one of his favorite snacks, was a nice crunchy mealworm. And it's like, is that better, though? I mean, a mealworm definitely isn't on the cognitive level as a mouse. Okay, this is really starting to piss me off. This is really starting to piss me off. Why is my... I'm gonna have to look back at the VOD of this, because I clicked on... Yeah, it double clicks. This mouse is double clicking. Okay. That's upsetting. Well, I know what I'm gonna do right about now. I'm going to go to Walmart and buy a cheapo computer mouse, because I am getting annoyed with my prayers being disabled from a faulty mouse. It is not fun. That's killed me too many times today. Like, just... See that? See that? Watch as I'm clicking the prayers. It's double clicking them. It's getting two inputs. That's annoying. Okay. I'm gonna end the stream here probably. I hope you tolerated at least my rambling about pets and animals and all that stuff. Um, but I need to get a new mouse because that's killed me like 3 times today. I knew something was off. Uh, it's I get it. I know. I'm. It's the controller. The controller's sticky. It's making the game bad because the controller's not working. But seriously, I'll just here. Here. Let's just watch the ranged icon. See that? It double clicked. See that? Yeah. Yeah, just like that. I okay. That's annoying. But I guess this mouse has served me well enough for a $20 Amazon Basics mouse. Uh lasted me a good year or so, but can't have those double clicks when protection prayers are important. So, thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like the video, or do all that stuff. I always feel weird about asking people to like and subscribe and all that. Um, but, if you want to, it feels good for me to see that number go up. Um, so thank you anyway for watching. Oh, who's this? I must have missed this message, but hello. Um, I'm just gonna end stream here. I'm gonna get a new mouse. Maybe tomorrow we can keep looking for the purple stick. Um, and as always, have a wonderful rest of your day.